Welcome to the series where I test out money-making methods from the OSRS Wiki. Feel free to leave suggestions on which moneymaker you'd like to see next. And also, if you didn't already know, I have a nice playlist that I've created that has all of the previous moneymakers that I've already tried, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get into the video. So for today's money-making guide, I decided to check out the ancient wyverns. Now, there isn't a guide on the OSRS Wiki for these, but there definitely should be, especially when you consider some of the guides that are already on there that provide less than 50k. So if those can be on there, then this one can definitely be on there. And not too long ago, I did do a video on the skeletal wyverns. So it will be interesting to see how they compare in terms of GP per hour, especially when you consider the fact that these ancient wyverns do have higher requirements in terms of slayer level, and of course better gear will also help out since they are a lot stronger than the normal wyverns. In fact, I believe in the past these actually had to be nerfed quite a bit because their defense levels were pretty high, and they also have a lot of HP, so this could be a nice training spot as well to get some, I'd say, pretty AFK training going. And who knows, perhaps you might even get lucky and get some of the rare drops that are on the drop table for the ancient wyverns. So before we get into the gear setup, I just want to say if you head over to the wiki and go to Ancient Wyverns Strategies, they will have a nice guide that will show you what gear setup to bring. They have one for melee, range, magic, and they show you the best gear in order of what you obviously can afford. It's a very helpful tool to have, and honestly I've been using it for a very long time, so definitely check it out. As for the gear setup that I went for the melee setup, and I just try to bring the best strength bonus that I have. So I'm bringing full bandos, primordial boots, the ferocious gloves, the berserker ring imbued, the dragonfire shield because we do need the dragonfire protection, the dragon hunter lance, the fire cape, the amulet of torture, Rada's blessing 4, and the Nade's Knot face guard. As for the inventory, I'm bringing my max cape for the teleports, the divine super combat potion along with 3 prayer potions, an inventory full of shark, or better, will be nice, and the herb sack since these monsters do drop some herbs. Now as for getting there, the wiki recommends a certain way to get there, but I think this way is faster here. I just used the dig site pendant to teleport to the dig site, and I immediately run east and board this boat right here. This boat will take you to a fossil island directly, and from here you just continue running east, and again, I did try out the other method of getting to the cave, and this one definitely is faster because if you look at the map, you have to navigate some shortcuts if you do decide to go from the top to the bottom. So this method is definitely faster. You just run around this area and here you are in this cave. And I just want to say this is actually the first time that I've been in this cave, I'm pretty sure. It's not the first time that I've killed these ancient wyverns, but I've only done them on task, and if you have a task for them, you can just use the mushrooms to teleport to the, I think it's called Mushroom Meadows, and there's a small little area that you can enter, which has a task only area for these wyverns. So if you are on task, definitely use that instead since it's a lot faster to bank and get back to the area. As you can see, we did have to run around this entire cave to get to this place. There was a small area that's blocked off by some trees or something, so it would be interesting to see if there was some sort of shortcut that would lead here. Maybe, who knows, if they add a fossil island diary one day, they might consider adding that, but I don't think this is a very popular moneymaker. Don't see too many people here, so yeah, maybe it wouldn't really benefit from that. I was also surprised to see that there's only 2 spawns for these ancient wyverns, but I quickly realized that that doesn't really matter. If you're here alone, you'll be perfectly fine since these ancient wyverns are pretty strong and they do have a lot of hit points, so it will take some time to kill each one. Now earlier I did mention that in terms of gear setup, you can head over to the wiki and type in Ancient Wyverns Strategies to see some gear setups. Here's an example of the melee one. As you can see, it tells you the best in slot to bring, and for the first slot, which is the best one, there's 2 setups you can really bring. You can either go the strength route, which is what I did, or you can go the full tank route, which would be bringing Justicar armor to tank a lot of the damage from these guys. But I don't know, I just decided to go with strength because I feel like it's more kills per hour, but I suppose if you wanted to last longer, then you could go the defense route. And again, if you wanted to use a range or magic instead of melee, they also have setups for that, so definitely go and check it out to see what works best for you. One thing that I really did want to mention though is that bringing the ancient wyvern shield might actually be better than a dragonfire shield. you do get negative bonuses in terms of attack, and you also lose some strength bonuses, but you don't get frozen by the icy breath from the Wyverns. So ultimately you might actually get more kills per hour since you're not frozen for, I believe it's like 10 seconds at a time, and that can actually eat into your kills. So you might consider bringing that, but again, I didn't bring it because 1, I didn't own it, and 2, I just didn't want to take on those negative attack bonuses. Now, speaking of the Ancient Wyvern Shield, you can actually get the Wyvern Visage from these Ancient Wyverns. It is a 1 in 10,000 drop, so if you do happen to get lucky, that's an extra, I'd say about 18 mil to your bank, so that would be very nice to get. Who knows, maybe one of these days I'll come back here and camp these guys for a long time and just get that Wyvern Visage just so I can have it on the collection log, because it would be pretty nice to fill it out and get one of those rare drops. It's just like the Draconic Visage, it's a very rare item, and even though it's not worth as much as it used to be, it's still pretty nice to get that and see that on the ground. Now, these Wyverns actually have access to a lot of different items. Here's a look at some of the weapons and armor they drop, and as you can see, they do have the Granite Longsword and the Granite Boots on their drop table as well. And those are a 1 in 600 drop, so those are pretty rare as well. Unfortunately, the Granite Longsword is very cheap. I was surprised to see that it was only 23k, but the Granite Boots still hold some value. If I remember correctly, quite some time ago, these Granite Boots were actually worth a couple mil because of the update to Korend whenever they are adding the Karum Slayer dungeon, since you do need some type of boots to avoid taking damage from the dungeon in there. That is, of course, if you don't have the Elite Diary done. The Granite Boots is one of the boots on that list that will give you protection from the fire, so they were pretty expensive for a while. Now, as for some other drops, they do have some access to some herbs on their drop table. As you can see here, some of them are noted, but there are the Ranar weeds and the torsals that are unnoted, so that's why I brought the herb sack. Now, I'd say that you really don't need the herb sack. It's not like a complete necessity, simply because you're only here for about maybe 10 kills before you have to bank again, but if you do happen to get those Ranars to drop, then it's nice to have the herb sack since you don't have to leave them behind. Now, as for which prayers I was using throughout this 1 hour, I was using Piety for the most part, and then if I was running low on food but still had a lot of prayer, then I would also flick on Protect from Melee. Now, the reason why I use Protect from Melee in this melee setup is because we are in range, so we can negate the melee damage that we take, and also we do have very high range defense, and you can't actually pray against their ranged attacks. They actually hit through prayer, so that's why we're not doing that. And if you noticed, that's why in the gear setup they did mention to bring some high defense gear like Barrow's armor if you have it, since that has some very high ranged defense. But that pretty much wraps up the 1 hour. Again, this was a pretty AFK moneymaker. Really, you just have to watch out for your health. So yeah, I'd actually recommend it. It's pretty nice if you have the requirements for it. Here's a look at the loot. 1.2 mil from all of the drops that we got within the 1 hour, which is pretty nice. Anytime we get over 1 mil an hour, I'd say it's a pretty good moneymaker. Definitely one of the better ones that we've done. And now we just head over to the Grand Exchange to sell off all of the loot that we got from this 1 hour. As I do with all of my videos, the items that are contributing more to the total cash stack, I put in there for at least the actively traded price or a little bit under it. And then the items that don't really contribute too much, I just sell them for a very low amount, just for the sake of the video. I don't want to be here waiting for days to make a couple extra GP. But if you do decide to camp here, definitely put them in there for a nice amount so you can maximize your total profit. And as we can see here in the final price check, it is 1.2 mil, along with that medium fossil that we did find, which doesn't contribute to the total price check, but it does have some uses. Now we can go ahead and calculate how much total profit we made from the 1 hour of slaying these ancient wyverns. So if we take into account the cost of supplies, which was mainly just the sharks, prayer potions, and super combats, we get 207,656 GP. Subtract that from the total amount of money that we made, which was 1,216,639 GP. We get a grand total profit of 1,008,983 GP. So just over 1 mil for this hour, and anytime we get over 1 mil, I'd say it's a pretty good moneymaker, especially this one since it was pretty chill. I'd say the only negative part about this is that it is a pretty long run to a bank and then coming back. Now here's a look at the amount of XP that we got from this 1 hour. As you can see, it's spread across attack, defense, strength, and hit points, equaling to just over 100,000 XP, so that's also pretty nice. And here's also a look at the total loot that we got from all of the kills, which was 59 kills of these ancient wyverns. Again, they are pretty tanky and they have a lot of health, so you won't be slaying hundreds of these an hour, but you'll still be making some pretty good money, especially if you happen to get lucky and get that wyvern visage. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and possibly even a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.